A passenger plane erupts into flames on the runway at Tokyo Haneda Airport just moments after landing. According to early reports, the aircraft made contact with another plane during the rollout, triggering a fast-spreading fire along the fuselage. Flames and smoke engulf the aircraft as emergency crews respond immediately, racing against time to control the blaze. The incident brings airport operations to a standstill and shocks passengers watching from nearby terminals. Runway collisions are extremely rare, but this shows how even after touchdown, risks remain high when spacing, visibility, or coordination breaks down. A tragic incident unfolds at Milan Bergamo Airport when a man identified as Andrea Russo breaches restricted areas of the runway. As ground crews look on in disbelief, he runs toward a passenger aircraft preparing for departure. Within seconds, he enters the engine's intake zone and is struck with catastrophic force. Authorities later report that the act appears to have been intentional. The incident brings airport operations to an immediate halt and leaves ground staff deeply shaken. It's a sobering reminder of why runway security, controlled access, and mental health intervention are critical layers of safety in high-risk aviation environments. A Southwest Airlines jet is moments from touchdown at Chicago Midway International Airport when the situation suddenly turns critical. A private jet enters the runway without proper clearance, putting both aircraft on a collision course. At the last possible second, the Southwest pilots execute a hard go-around, powering up and pulling the plane back into the air to avoid impact. The maneuver shocks passengers but prevents what could have been a catastrophic runway accident. Incidents like this show how razor-thin the margins are during landing, and how fast, disciplined crew decisions are often the final barrier between a close call and disaster. An American Airlines Boeing 777 fights its way into London's Heathrow Airport under brutal crosswind conditions. Powerful, gusting winds shove the aircraft sideways on final approach, forcing constant control corrections just to stay lined up with the runway. The jet touches down crabbed, wheels biting hard as the pilots wrestle it straight in front of stunned onlookers. Even for a wide body flown by seasoned crews, this is a reminder of how unforgiving crosswinds can be. At Heathrow, where weather changes by the minute, landings like this show just how much skill it takes to put a heavy jet safely on the ground when nature refuses to cooperate. A terrifying runway incident unfolds as a LATAM Airlines Airbus A320neo begins its departure. During what was supposed to be an emergency services training exercise, a fire truck unexpectedly crosses into the active runway. In seconds, the aircraft's right engine collides directly with the vehicle, tearing into it and sending debris across the tarmac. The pilots immediately abort the takeoff as emergency crews rush in. An investigation is now underway to determine how the fire truck failed to see the departing aircraft. The incident is a stark reminder that runway coordination leaves zero room for error when training, visibility, or communication breaks down. The results can be dangerously real. A U.S. pilot is sitting in his small plane on the runway when a terrifying near miss unfolds overhead. Instead of a ground movement, another aircraft suddenly flies past at extremely low altitude, crossing directly over the cockpit. The clearance is just inches. One small deviation, and the outcome would have been catastrophic. The pilot remains frozen as the aircraft roars past and clears his position. It's a chilling reminder that low passes over active runways demand perfect coordination and situational awareness. When aircraft cross paths this close to the ground, there's absolutely no margin for error. An Airbus A321neo is on final approach when brutal crosswinds start pushing it off course. Gusts hit hard, forcing aggressive corrections as the jet crabs toward the runway, rocking side to side just feet above the ground. At one point, the bank angle and drift look completely unforgiving, with almost no margin left to stabilize. The pilots wrestle the aircraft back into alignment at the last possible moment, narrowly avoiding a runway excursion. It's a powerful reminder that crosswind landings are one of aviation's toughest challenges, where skill, timing, and discipline are the only things keeping things from going very wrong. In 1997, Virgin Atlantic flight VS-024 encounters a serious problem shortly after departure. The Airbus A340's left main landing gear jams during takeoff, leaving the crew with a critical mechanical failure just minutes into flight. Rather than continuing, the pilots return and execute an emergency landing at London Heathrow Airport. The landing is controlled but tense, with emergency crews standing by. Of the 14 people on board, 5 suffer only minor injuries. A later report points to issues in the design and certification of parts in the wheel brake assembly, highlighting how even certified components can become critical risks if engineering margins are flawed. A helicopter is coming in to land when a sudden danger appears straight ahead. At the same moment, a small aircraft begins its takeoff roll on the same strip. With almost no warning, the paths cross. Rotors overhead, wings accelerating forward. The helicopter pilot reacts instantly, pulling up and breaking off the landing just in time to avoid a mid-air collision. The aircraft passes beneath, missing by only seconds. It's a chilling reminder that mixed operations demand perfect coordination. When helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft share space, one missed call or assumption can turn a routine landing into a near disaster. A dramatic emergency unfolds over Long Island when a single-engine plane piloted by Clyde Vannell suddenly suffers an engine malfunction mid-flight. With power dropping and no airport within reach, the pilot makes a rapid decision to bring the aircraft down along a narrow stretch of beach. The plane descends fast, touches down on the sand, and skids to a stop just feet from the water as stunned beachgoers look on. The emergency landing avoids a far worse outcome, showing how quick judgment and calm execution can make all the difference when an aircraft loses power with nowhere else to go. During the Wings Over Dallas Air Show, a tragic mid-air collision unfolded in front of stunned spectators. A Bell P-63 King Cobra was flying a fast pass when it crossed paths with a Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress moving along the display line. The fighter struck the bomber mid-air, instantly tearing both historic aircraft apart. Debris rained down as the formations vanished from the sky in seconds. The incident shocked the aviation world and halted the show immediately. It stands as a heartbreaking reminder that even carefully choreographed air shows leave no margin for error, and that speed differences, timing, and spacing must be managed perfectly when multiple aircraft share the same airspace. Video circulating online shows a tense moment over Syracuse Hancock International Airport, where two aircraft were flying in close proximity during operations on Monday. From certain angles, the separation looks dangerously tight, prompting widespread concern on social media. However, the Federal Aviation Administration says the event does not qualify as a close call under its safety criteria. According to officials, required airborne separation was maintained, and no evasive maneuver was necessary. The incident highlights how perspective can be misleading, and why aviation safety assessments depend on verified data, not just dramatic visuals. A helicopter is coming in to land when things suddenly go very wrong. Instead of settling smoothly, it drops lower than expected, wobbling and losing stability. Below it, cars are moving and people are standing just meters away, completely exposed to what could become a disaster. The pilot fights the controls, the rotor dips dangerously close to the ground, and for a moment it looks like the aircraft is about to crash right into the crowd. At the last second, control is recovered, and the helicopter pulls away. It's a chilling reminder that low-altitude helicopter operations leave zero room for error, and when something goes wrong over people, the risk multiplies instantly. On September 23, 2024, a U.S. Air Force F-16 Fighting Falcon operating under North American Aerospace Defense Command was conducting a routine intercept inside the Alaskan Air Defense Identification Zone. The mission involved tracking a Russian Tu-95, a common operation in the region, but the situation escalated when a Russian Su-35 entered the encounter and performed an unsafe maneuver directed toward the F-16. The move reduced separation and increased collision risk, forcing heightened alert during the intercept. Incidents like this highlight how quickly routine air policing can turn dangerous when aggressive maneuvers replace professional conduct. A close call unfolds on the runway. As timing comes down to seconds, a Boeing 7077 begins its takeoff roll, just as a Boeing 7037 on final approach is forced into a go-around. From the right angle, it looks terrifying. One aircraft accelerating, the other climbing away overhead. But this is where procedure matters. Air traffic control sequences these moves carefully, and go-arounds are designed to keep vertical and horizontal separation intact. Even so, moments like this show how razor-thin the margins can look, and why precise coordination between pilots and controllers is critical every single second. A small aircraft is on final approach, descending steadily as a passenger films from inside the cabin. Everything looks normal, until suddenly, another small plane appears from above, lining up for the same landing path. In a split second, the danger becomes obvious. The two aircraft are converging fast. The pilot reacts immediately, pushing the throttle and pulling the nose up, abandoning the landing just in time. The plane climbs sharply, missing the other aircraft by a frighteningly small margin. It's a textbook example of why see and avoid radio calls and strict traffic awareness are critical, because one missed position report can turn a routine landing into a near mid-air collision. A twin-engine Cessna runs into serious trouble during approach to Arlington Municipal Airport. With the landing gear unable to deploy, the pilot declares an emergency and prepares for a controlled belly landing. Airport crews quickly foam the runway to reduce friction and fire risk. At around 12:42 p.m., the aircraft touches down with its gear fully retracted and slides smoothly along the foam-covered surface before coming to a stop. Emergency teams surround the plane within seconds. It's a textbook example of calm decision-making and preparation, where training, coordination, and a controlled response prevent a mechanical failure from becoming something far worse. While responding to a car accident between Notham and Bavine in Luxembourg, a Luxembourg Air Rescue H-145D3 helicopter runs into trouble at low altitude. During the approach, the aircraft strikes a tree, immediately compromising the landing. With no safe option to continue the flight, the pilot executes a controlled hard landing directly on the road. Emergency crews secure the scene as the helicopter comes to a stop. Remarkably, all 4 people on board are uninjured, and there was no patient aboard at the time. The incident highlights the risks of low-level emergency responses, where obstacles, tight terrain, and time pressure leave little margin for error. A skydiving flight turns terrifying in seconds. As jumpers line up and begin exiting the aircraft, the plane suddenly loses airspeed and starts to stall. The nose pitches up, control degrades, and the aircraft sinks rapidly, almost dropping straight into the group of skydivers who just jumped moments earlier. It's a chilling near miss, caught right at the edge of disaster. The pilot manages to recover just in time, but the margin was razor thin. This incident shows how dangerous slow flight can be during skydiving operations, where weight shifts, open doors, and low airspeed leave almost no room for error. Things go sideways fast when a small plane starts losing directional control in flight. The nose yaws, the aircraft drifts, and for a moment it looks like this could turn into a disaster. But the pilot stays calm and works the rudder like a champ, countering every swing and keeping the wings level. With no runway available, he lines up the only open space below a golf course. The plane comes down rough but controlled, rolling to a stop between the fairways. It's a perfect example of how skill, coordination, and quick decision-making can turn a bad situation into a survivable landing when there's no margin left. In this video, a Transavia Airlines Boeing 737-900 wrestles with a tough crosswind landing at Madeira Airport. Madeira is infamous for shifting winds and tricky terrain, where gusts spill off the mountains and shove aircraft sideways on final approach. You can see the jet crabbing hard into the wind, making constant corrections just to stay aligned. Touchdown isn't gentle, but it's controlled, exactly what's required here. It's a textbook example of why Madeira is one of Europe's most demanding airports, and how skill, timing, and discipline keep heavy jets safe when the weather refuses to cooperate. Footage filmed from inside a small plane captures a heart-stopping emergency over a busy 4-lane highway in North Carolina. The engine falters, altitude disappears, and traffic replaces runways beneath the wings. With cars rushing in both directions, the pilot commits to the only option left, landing on the highway itself. The plane drops between moving vehicles, touches down hard, and skids forward as drivers slam on their brakes in shock. Against impossible odds, the aircraft comes to a stop without causing further harm. It's a powerful reminder that in aviation emergencies, fast thinking and decisive control can turn a worst-case scenario into survival. A person is standing near the runway, filming a small aircraft as it comes in low. From the camera angle, everything looks calm until the plane suddenly passes terrifyingly close. The clearance is measured in inches, not feet, and for a split second, it nearly takes the filmer out completely. The aircraft roars past and climbs away, leaving shock and disbelief behind. It's a blunt reminder that runways are never spectator zones. One step too close, one misjudged approach, and a routine pass can turn into a serious accident in an instant. Incredible footage from August 16, 2010, in Argentina captures a nightmare unfolding mid-air. Iran's S-9 Chaos is performing an airshow demonstration when, without warning, one of its wings suddenly tears away. The aircraft instantly becomes uncontrollable. With no time to troubleshoot, the pilot reacts decisively and deploys the plane's full airframe parachute system. The aircraft drops hard and impacts the ground. Seconds later, flames erupt from the wreckage, but the pilot has already escaped, unharmed. It's a rare, dramatic example of how emergency parachute systems can turn a total structural failure into a survivable outcome when every second counts. During a routine landing at Sultan Abdul Halim Airport, a BAE Hawk Mech 208 operated by the Royal Malaysian Air Force runs into sudden trouble. The aircraft touches down but bounces hard, forcing extra stress onto the landing gear. On the second contact with the runway, the front landing gear collapses, sending the jet's nose down as sparks fly across the tarmac. The pilot manages to keep the aircraft under control as it slides to a stop. Incidents like this show how unforgiving high-speed landings can be, where even a single bounce can overload critical components and turn a normal recovery into a runway emergency. During a last-second go-around, the aircraft suddenly runs into another serious problem. Debris on the runway is kicked up and strikes the left engine, triggering visible streaks of flame that trail from the nacelle for several terrifying seconds. From the ground, it looks catastrophic, but the crew maintains control and continues the maneuver. Airport officials immediately shut down both primary runways, issuing urgent warnings to inbound aircraft about debris contamination on the surface. The incident highlights how go-arounds, while routine, can become high-risk events when foreign object debris is involved, and why runway inspections and rapid closures are critical to preventing a far worse outcome. A close call unfolds during air-to-air refueling, where precision is everything. As the receiver aircraft moves in, even a small position change creates powerful aerodynamic effects. That disturbed airflow hits the tanker, a KC-135 Stratotanker, and suddenly the autopilot can't keep up. The system struggles to compensate, and the tanker pitches sharply, throwing the entire refueling setup off balance. In seconds, a routine operation turns hazardous. This is why in-flight refueling is one of the most demanding maneuvers in aviation. One wrong movement, one delayed correction, and massive aircraft can be pushed beyond what automation can instantly handle. On June 7, 2025, an Augusta Westland AW119 Koala operated by Kestrel Aviation suffered a serious emergency just moments after takeoff from the Badasu helipad in Uttarakhand. En route to Kedarnath, the helicopter experienced a suspected technical fault possibly linked to the collective control, forcing the pilot to put it down immediately on Kedarnath Road near Gupkashi. The landing was hard and chaotic. The aircraft struck a car and roadside structure, breaking the tail boom and damaging the main rotor. Despite the impact, all 5 passengers walked away unharmed. The pilot, Captain RPS Sodhi, was taken for medical evaluation due to back pain. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation has launched an investigation, but one thing is already clear: fast decision-making prevented a far worse outcome. A small plane is on final approach seconds from touching down when another aircraft suddenly appears on the same landing path. The separation collapses fast, turning a routine landing into an immediate threat. The pilot reacts instinctively, adding power and climbing away at the last moment to avoid a mid-air collision. The 2 planes pass dangerously close before regaining safe spacing. It's a narrow escape that shows how quickly things can unravel during landing. In uncontrolled airspace, constant scanning, clear radio calls, and strict traffic awareness are the only barriers between a close call and a disaster. This wasn't just a close shave. The wire actually struck the aircraft. During low-level flight, the crew never sees the power line until it's already too late. The wire slams into the canopy, tearing it away in a split second. Somehow, the pilot avoids being seriously hurt and keeps the aircraft under control. That outcome comes down to pure luck more than anything else. Power lines are among the most dangerous hazards for low-level flying because they're nearly invisible and unforgiving. This crew survived a worst-case scenario. Inches, timing, and fortune were the only things standing between escape and disaster.